Now, this morning, the president gave a speech that was a new low of pablum. Let's go to Colonel Allen West. Allen, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Well, Dr. Savage, it's always good to be with you, and my wife and daughters send their best.
Oh, what great people. I remember the time you came out to my house in Florida. That was a great day. Colonel, I want to ask you something. Did you hear Obama's speech today from Europe?
Yes, I did. And, following on with the speech he gave and press conference yesterday at The Hague, what he said at Brussels, I think we have a president that just does not get it, that he tries to envision the world in his own vision, and it is really far away from reality. And what you see being portrayed, especially in Europe, is a weakness of America, not a strength of America. And Vladimir Putin is going to take advantage of that, as well as others.
You know, Alan, I called it that we've gone from the Gettysburg Address to the Pettysburg Address, because he was speaking, Obama, again, in the same tones he used on the stump speeches that he gave when he was running for office. He was speaking to 2,000 college girls who were idolizing him once again. He went into that tonality, which I know very well is part of that whole, rap that he uses when he wants to sell people about how sincere and good he is. But he's the man who has brought us into a new Cold War. He's the man who set the Arab nations on fire. And yet he pulls out of his hat statements that were absolutely stunning. Colonel West, did you hear when he started to talk about gays and lesbians in the middle of a day like today? I mean, what does that have to do with Russia taking over Crimea?
Well, Dr. Savage, let's be very honest. You have a president that he is more so worried about, repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, allowing transgenders to serve in the military, allowing beards, turbans, and hijab. Those to him are vital national security interests, this whole social egalitarianism where, there's one, we all should be equal, which comes along with his education policy of Common Core. So, for him, he is indeed, as you know, transforming the United States of America into this, progressive socialist world that he has always envisioned, and the left, as you well know, has always envisioned. But you're right. What Vladimir Putin, what China sees, what the radicals down in South America see, this is the opportunity to strike the United States of America because this president has misplaced priorities.
Now, look, you're a hero to millions of Americans who know your background. You're also a multi-generational military man. And you also know that we have half the number of nuclear warheads that Russia does. Mm-hmm. How in the world did we back ourselves into this corner that on the one hand, the man deballs the U.S. military, and the other day he puts out a memo that he wants to eliminate the Hellfire missile. You saw that, I'm sure.
Yes, I did.
The tank-killing missile that's used in our helicopters, and at the same time, he wants to take on one of the biggest tank forces in the world. Now, he's saying, no, we're not going to use military. Well, what power does he have over Russia?
Well,
none, nothing.
That's the point. He does not want to have any type of military confrontation, not with Russia, not with anyone. And you're correct. He has canceled two of the most successful missile systems that we have known in the military, the Tomahawk cruise missile, which was okay for him to use when he illegally and unconstitutionally conducted his operations in Libya, and then the Hellfire missile system, which is what is mounted on drones, and he's been a big proponent of drone usage. And the replacement for those systems are not supposed to come for 10 years. So, again, he is defanging the United States military. When Chuck Hagel came out on Monday of a few weeks past and said, we're going to gut our military, we're going to cut our army down to pre-World War II levels, by Friday, Vladimir Putin had forces in the Crimea. So people are watching what he is doing. And putting sanctions on 11 guys in Russia or a bank here or there, that's not going to affect Putin. That's not his center of gravity. But the center of gravity for Putin is energy resources, which Obama is a slave to the radical environmentalists, so he's not going to do anything.
Right, and I'm against military intervention. I want to be very clear about that. This is an interesting paradox here. I said something last week which I still think is interesting, Colonel West. I'd like to run it by you and my audience. I said there's almost a silver lining at this point to having a weak pacifist president in the White House in one regard. If we had had McCain in there, we might be at war. I think he could have launched B-1 bombers on the Russian troops by now, which could have led to World War III, which is an interesting scenario, but certainly plausible. I want to know, in your mind, First of all, I don't think we have any business in the Balkans. I don't think one American life should be lost for Crimea or for Ukraine. I've said that for weeks now. There's no national security interest here, none. Do you agree with that?
Well, I have to disagree about the national security interest because I'm looking at it from a strategic positioning. And no one is saying that we have to go to war with them, but as Ronald Reagan talked about peace through strength, your military can be a deterrent and keeping people at bay and letting them know that you are serious about protecting and defending your alliances. So I would say that the very simple things, if you have the missile defense shield in place that Obama canceled, if you can expand the NATO membership, if you can have some joint military-to-military exercises with some of these countries, especially some of those Baltic states, that's where we need to move away from the old Cold War mindset of Europe and pre-positioned forces that we had to now a more of a power projection force where we can go and we can do, like I said, military training. But when you are sitting back and taking these options off the table, and your military is one of many different options, diplomatic, informational, economic, then you're letting a bully, a dictator such as Putin know that I'm going to be able to run roughshod. And I hate to say it, but this has an incredible parallel to the 1930s when Sir Neville Chamberlain didn't do anything. They gave Sudetenland over to Hitler. Then the next thing you know, he went right straight into Czechoslovakia and then Poland. So, weakness can be enticing to some people.
Well, but do you actually think Putin's going to take Estonia and Poland? I don't.
Well, see, this is the thing. The military teaches you to prepare for the enemy's most dangerous course of action, and that's what you should prepare for. Vladimir Putin said, "I have no intentions of going into Crimea or annexing," and look what happened. He did. He has no respect for us, and really he has no respect for the West. He sees this as a time to reaffirm the Soviet empire that he said was, the greatest disappointment for him in the 20th century was its collapse. So
well, you're a military man, and I respect your view. I'm sorry, you are a military man, so I would expect you to see it differently than I do, Colonel West. But truthfully, I don't think Crimea is our business, and I've said so. But let's move on. The Hellfire missile, the Tomahawk missile cancellations, those are proposed budget items, aren't they? Can Congress stop this man from actually killing those programs?
Yeah, they can. These are proposals to go into the 2015 budget cycle. And as you know, the House and Senate Armed Services Committee will look at the Authorization Act for the military, and then that will go on to the appropriations. So the Congress needs to do its job. But, Dr. Savage, we hadn't seen a Congress, House or Senate that really stands up to this president. They allow him to do many things by executive order and regulatory fiat. So we need to have the Congress reassert itself as the holder of the bill, the purse, and make sure that we do own up to the number one responsibility of the federal government, which is to provide for the common defense instead of creating a welfare nanny state.
Well, I remember back when you were a congressman and we first met at my house in Florida and what the Republican establishment did to you. They redrew the districts. They gerrymandered you out of office. And I'm not enamored of the Republican Party. I haven't been for forever. I'm an independent conservative, as you probably know. Are you going to run for office again?
Oh, yeah. Right now I have a great opportunity to get across the country and help out, military and minority conservatives. That's my focal point. That's why I have the Guardian Fund, and then also help out these junior ROTC programs who are severely getting cut. That was my first path to understand leadership. So the high school students need that type of a program. But looking out, the 2016 cycle, I will probably, come back and run. But, I fight for my country. I don't fight for a party. I fight for the fundamental principles that enable me to come out of the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, and be speaking on the Michael Savage radio show. So I think that's where this country is moving toward. As you said, an independent conservative. People are going to focus on good policies. People are focus on the right sound principles, economic principles, energy, military, national security, foreign policy. That's what the American people are looking for, especially leadership right now. And so
I hope you run for higher office. There are millions of people who would vote for you, Colonel West. Believe me, it's not just local office we're interested in. Can you imagine if we had a Republican victory and you were made Secretary of Defense? Never happened, because, as you well know, they put a defense contractor stooge in there. But, God, if you were in charge of the Defense Department, maybe we could sleep well at night again. Now, I don't know about you, Colonel West, but I'm going to be getting a Kim Jong-un haircut because
No.
Did you read the story this morning that Kim Jong-un is requiring all North Korean men to have his hair cut? Did you hear that story?
No, I had not heard it. But again, that's the Stalinist. Look, if Barack Obama could make us all march in the same direction, he would. And I think that's one of the things he's trying to
I
do.
know. What if Obama made us all get one of his accoutrements? No, but Kim Jong-un said that everyone must have his haircut, the leader's haircut. And now this is funny. The hairstylist is referred to as the Chinese smuggler haircut. The Chinese smuggler haircut, close quote, because of its resemblance to actual Chinese smugglers. Would you believe this?
That's incredible. But, when you're dealing with a regime that, for all of these years, since, the 50s, when the Soviet Union basically became the major impact player there with their Marxist, Maoist ideology, Stalinist ideology, this is what the North Koreans have been suffering with. But, think about it. This little young, 29, 30-year-old, wet behind the ears guy is the leader of a nation. And, once again, they're a primary belligerent, promulgating nuclear weapons technology across the world. The most important thing, Dr. Savage, we have got to get some strong leadership, and that's a bipartisan issue, strong leadership for this country, because I fear for the future right now.
Well, I agree with you. And one other last note, I'm just thinking about this haircut, Kim Jong-un's haircut. I just wonder if Dennis Rodman will get such a haircut in solidarity with his good friend Kim Jong-un. And if he does, he better be careful that they don't electrocute him with all that bling hanging from his earlobes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what I would say is that maybe Jong-un should get, tattoos and wear a dress like Dennis Rodman did. So maybe they can go hang out together.
There's a blessing in what you just said. In other words, he could have come out and said that I'm going to start looking like Dennis Rodman. This is actually a blessing in disguise. Colonel Allen West, thank you very much for being with us today on the Savage Nation and helping me and my listeners celebrate. Is it I and my listeners and I celebrate my 20th anniversary in radio. Thank you very much, Alan.
It's awesome, and thank you, Dr. Savage. And our book, Guardian of the Republic, will be out at the beginning of the month of April.
No, listen, how do we help you in your endeavors with the ROTC? What do we do there?
Yes, if you go to our website, alanbwest.com, and you'll see an icon that you can click on, the Allen West Foundation, or you can just type in Allen West Foundation, and you can see the things that we're doing to try to help build the next generation of strong, principled American leadership, especially with the inner city high schools that need
ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps.
Yeah,
it's helped an awful lot of men and women make a life for themselves.
Absolutely.
Colonel West, run for president. Thank you for being with us on the Savage Nation. That brings